Welcome again to Can You Believe It? Here, we believe that all truth is God's truth, whether the truth is found in social sciences and mathematics and physics or in chemistry or any other field for that matter. And our premise is founded on the basis, again, that all truth is God's truth. And we believe also it's our responsibility as scholars here to find that truth wherever it may be found, analyze it, and share it with the rest of the world, with all creatures, big and small. We've been looking at this issue of racism as we know it, trying to discover what are the roots of racism today. Last time, we looked at the pre-Adamic theory and the degenerate theory of Richard Popkins in the 15th century. Popkin, energized by the Spanish Inquisition, theorized that some people, especially the Indians and people or darker skinned, were created prior to Adam and Eve and lacked the moral and ethical capabilities to reason and to make decisions. He believed that the Indians in particular were subhuman and needed to surrender their land to the management of the Spanish Inquisitionists and early Christian missionaries who also came in as settlers. Popkins believed that there was another group of people whom he called the degenerates. These were created at the time of Adam and Eve, but somehow, because of their environmental situations and genetic disposition for that matter, these people somehow lost the art of humanity, and therefore they were unable to make moral and ethical decisions as well, and therefore their resources and land needed to be confiscated and managed by those who had moral authority over them. Now, among the earliest proponents of the degenerate theory was the 17th century architect of English colonial policy, a prominent scholar by the name of John Locke. That name may shock you, because who associates John Locke with racism? Well, it is this same John Locke who is also known to have drafted the Constitution for the Carolinas, both North and South, the Carolinas in the United States for that matter. John Locke accepted the biblical account of human origin, but believed that the equality of all creation and the endowment of natural rights to all humans are no longer, not all human beings no longer had to be applied to all people, because the American Indians, for example, were not using their native land properly. Now, how do we define properly other than to say someone was eyeing land that did not belong to him? John Locke, the philosopher that is so often quoted by some, believed that the American Indians should lose their liberties because they had unjustly opposed the European settlers as well. Someone say, ouch. And so, in the 1690s, that is 1690, John Locke justified the maltreatment and the slavery of non-whites based on what he considered to be their personal failures. Any reason at this point, would be justified as personal failures. Apparently, the whole clan and tribe of the American Indians exhibited personal failures. At the same time, some historians in the 18th century attempted to explain factors that have led some of the whites to experience genetical change from white skins to darker skins. Listen to this. The historians argued that this was due to climatic change. A French politician and philosopher by the name of Charles Louis de Secondat, who was born in 1869, died in 1755, was among the first to develop an elaborate climate theory in 1748. He believed that is Charles Louis Desecondat believed that climate and geography affected the temperaments and customs of our country's inhabitants, and thus climate change, that's not a new thing, right? Rather, peoples accounted for the differences among humans. Climate change affected or accounted for the differences we find in human beings. The differences found within human beings were not hereditary at all, he said. These differences were due to the changes found within climatic zones to another. These external conditions made the temperaments of people to change, he argued. That was the argument raised by Charles Louis Descondat in 1748. However, listen to this. In 1735, another guy, a biologist by the name of Carl Linnaeus, who is considered to be the founder of modern biology, was the first human to come up with a system of zoological classification of species. This is in 1735. He also became the first person to use the word Homo sapiens, for he classified humans to be anatomically in the same order as the primates. He argued humans were just the same as monkeys and chimpanzees, even though the scriptures are clear that humans are created different from other forms of life. Apostle Paul argues this in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 39, when he says authoritatively that not all flesh is the same. People have one kind of flesh, animals have another, birds another, and fish another. End of quote from Apostle Paul. And of course, Apostle Paul knows the Old Testament pretty well, for he says God created man in his own image. Man and female, he created them. So everything else, God said, let there be animals, let there be fishes, let there be trees, cows and dogs and everything else. But man is thoughtfully designed and created by the triune God, represented by the verb, let us create man in our own image. There, a plural pronoun there. But scholars by the name of Montesquieu and Linnaeus in 1735 believed that the differences that we find in human beings were due to climate and social conditions, or rather, your climate determines who you are and who you become. Another French contemporary of Linnaeus by the name of George Louis Comte de Buffon, who was quite wealthy and a close employee of King Louis XVI, offered another explanation to the reason for human variations. George Louis Comte de Buffon argued that we are, we are different, okay, for reasons that are based out of science and biology. Now, let me bring in some few names here, some few academicians here, and the wealthy and the money and the riches of the monarchs is starting to get into the mix here. So the kings of the day supported the reason for racial differences as established by Linnaeus in 1735. Louis Comte de Buffon argued that humans are not composed of essentially different species among themselves, but on the contrary, there is only one sole species of man which has multiplied and covered all of the surfaces of the earth and has subjected to different changes due to the influence of climate, the differences in nutrition and differences in the manner of life by sickness and epidemics and the various infinite mixture of individuals who are more or less similar as one that is moved away from Central Europe. So Buffon, for the Buffonians, explained that these various factors caused increasing degradation or degeneration or degeneration from the ideal humans and the original humans. The more you moved from Central Europe, he argued, the more subhuman one became. The farther away one is from Central Europe, the more degenerate that person became. So this argument then begs the question, why move from Europe then to acquire lands far away that is inhabited by some human people? Would this make the move to Europe become subhuman with time? Well, they did not think this far enough, I guess. But according to Buffon, the best conducive and the best supportive climate is found between 40 and 50 degrees longitudes. It is between the 40 and the 50 degrees, he argued, between this region that one finds the most beautiful and the most fit humans on the planet. It is therefore between 40 and 50 degrees in this region that is conducive. You find conducive climate, conducive that is ideal for the natural skin color of mankind. I'm keeping personal opinions out of this argument. I'm just reporting history as we know it to explain how we got here. So, indeed, it is here where one finds the ideal model, the origin from which is derived or other nuances of color and of beauty. The countries situated in this 40 to 50 degree zone are Georgia in Europe, Ukraine, Turkey, all of Europe basically, Hungary, Germany, Italy, Switzerland, France, and some parts of Spain. Let's keep on the science in the 16th century, because in 1775, another German physician and anatomist by the name of Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, who was thought as the father of physical anthropology and a discipline of Linnaeus, believed that all humans were created by God and all humans were of the same species. Kudos to Friedrich Blumenbach. He insisted that there were no sharp distinctions between groups. We were all humans and nothing like subhumans existed. However, here's the however. John Frederick Blumenbach in 1775 stated that he had constructed a human racial classification chart simply as a matter of convenience, and many seems to embrace his human classification chart. In fact, his publication of his dissertation entitled On the Natural Variety of Mankind became so popular that it was published as a third edition in the year 1795. Dude, men and women have been in school for a while, yeah? So it was Blumenbach, therefore, who was the first to classify humans as Caucasians, Mongoloids, and the Ethiopians, the Americans, the Malayans, and from the 17th century onward to this day, these terms have become widely accepted by the educated community. And once more, these things are still used today. I mean, you fill an HR form today, and they'll ask you, what's your origin? Are you a Caucasian? Are you a Mongoloid? Are you an Ethiopian? Are you an American or a Malayan? So they're used today. So Blumenbach, who has developed two major ideas that have endured in the history of racism, and unfortunately, again, we're still using them today. First, he coined the word Caucasian to refer to the people of European descent, and in doing so, Blumenbach also defined the Caucasians as, listen to this, the most beautiful, the closest to representing God's image, Yeah, Bloomberg said they closely resembled the Imago Dei. Now, consider the images of Jesus originating from Europe at this time. They had to be like the most beautiful images that were created in the Imago Dei, of course. So Jesus had to look like a Caucasian to fit the science of Bloomberg in the 1700s. Blumenbach argued that it is from these original humans, the Caucasians, that other varieties are degenerated from. Did you catch that? Blumenbach again argued that it is from these original humans, the Caucasians, that all other varieties are degenerated from. Again, we're trying to answer the question, how did we get here? What is the history of racism? I've been here for about 30 years now, and I have experienced some of this stuff. And I wanted to dig deeper into find out where did this come from? And therefore, can you believe it? So let's bring in some rationality to this issue of race and figure out where the problem lies. So far, our history and our education, our theology, our churches, and our systems seem to have all been on the same page. Blumenbach derived his thinking based on aesthetic grounds and his relative thinking and the definition of beauty according to him. But he presented his so-called educated theory as though he were discussing objective truth. His argument was not subject to any doubt or any disagreement. As we see, nobody objected. He had no academic ability or humility to say so, I think, but rather this is what it is. Second, Blumenbach accepted the underlying paradigm of the day as Liniers and Cavia and Buffon, that, the underlying paradigm was that one variety was indeed better and preferable to others because God created the one group better than the others. Well, this will come to be corrected by the theology or the theologians in the years to come. But this is where we are in the 1700s. So others degeneratively emerged out of, that includes people who are not considered to be Caucasians, degeneratively emerged out of the one superior race. Even so, the one was better in relationship to God's original design of creation. So no academic backing, no supporting documentation, but a statement that was assumed to be the case. Let's stop here for now. We shall continue with science from the 1700s, for we need to get deeper. Scoop the sand from the bottom of the ocean, bring it up to the surface for inspection, and then find out where the problem originates from. And if we can address it, then we address it. This has been Can You Believe It? We believe that all truth is God's truth, whether that truth is found in social sciences and mathematics and physics or chemistry. And our promise is founded on the basis that all truth is God's truth. And it is therefore our responsibility as scholars to find it wherever it may be found and to analyze it and to share it with the rest of humanity, with all creatures, big and small. Join us next week as we continue to explore this great subject of how did we get here. Thank you.